Hello, everyone. My name is Serafi, and it is Wednesday, my dudes! Welcome to the 11th episode of Wild Card Wednesdays. This is a special episode, as today we'll be talking about the first ever OCG list that I'm looking at. I say OCG. I'm going to be using the TCG ban list with one notable exception. But today we're going to be talking about Majespecters. And the reason we're talking about Majespecters is because they've released some new support. And this is a win deck that has been requested multiple times already because the Abyss Actor Guru is a Pendulum fan. And this is the premier win Pendulum deck other than Speedroids. So he wants to see me do this. And then when the new support came out, there was no reason not to. So let's talk about it. Majespecters are a group of wind monsters that are typically between levels 3 and 4. They are all spellcasters. They are all pendulum monsters. And the primary benefit of them is that they all have the effect that the monster cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And for the most part, they do not have pendulum effects, which is very interesting. And this is part of the reason why they don't see a whole lot of play, or at least they didn't until now, because not having pendulum effects makes them they're not bad cards, but they're cards that aren't optimal compared to other pendulum decks where the activation effect of pendulum effect kind of gives you an extra card on the field, extra 2 cards. So compared to other pendulum decks, Majespecters had fewer options, and that made them not as good for people who were interested in playing pendulums. But the new cards more than make up for that. So Majespecters currently have a crazy 1-card combo, and that 1-card combo is getting Raccoon out. So you can get Raccoon with Majespecter Wind, which allows you to tribute any Wind spellcaster monster to special summon a Majespecter monster from your deck. So any monster that you have that you open, as long as you have Wind, can turn into Bunbuku, Majespecter Raccoon Bunbuku. And when Bunbuku is summoned, you can add 1 Majespecter monster from your deck to your hand, once per turn only. The card you will add is Majespecter Porcupine Yamarashi. And when this card is in your hand, during your main phase, if you control a Majespecter monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. This is actually a quick effect, but we're going to do it during our turn. If this card is normal special summon, you can target 1 Majespecter spell card in your graveyard and set it. So you can get back another copy of Wind if you used Wind to get Raccoon, or if you just hard drew Raccoon and the second effect whiffs. But now you have 2 monsters on the field. So this is kind of a rare effect for a Pendulum monster to special summon itself from the hand, because that's what Pendulum summoning is. Because with these 2 monsters, you can link into Majespecter Orthis Niue. And Majespecter Orthis Niue, when it's link summoned, you can activate its effect, and it locks you into Majespecters for the rest of the turn. But you get to add 2 face-up Majespecter Pendulum monsters from your extra deck to your hand. Then you can add 2 Majespecter Pendulum monsters with different names from each other to your deck face-up. So you get back the 2 cards that you used to link summon it, and those 2 monsters have a scale 2 and a scale 5. So you set both those scales, then you can immediately pendulum summon both the 2 monsters that you brought from your deck to the field, because Majespecter Orthis has 2 arrows that you point to, so you can special summon from the extra deck to those. Then every Majespecter in your hand. So this 1 card, this Raccoon, gets you a board full of Majespecters, along with a link monster. And what 2 cards are you going to get from the deck? Well, you'll get Ogama, which is, when this card is special summoned, you can set 1 Majespecter spell or trap directly from your deck, but you cannot activate this turn. And Majesty Pegasus the Draco Slayer, which is always treated as a Majespecter card. If this card was special summoned by the effect of a Draco Slayer card or Pendulum summon, you can add 1 field spell from your deck to your hand, then discard a card. That is so good. It's not just the Majespecter field spell, it's any field spell. So what's the best field spell that we can get with this? The Secret Village of the Spellcasters, which is another Floodgate field spell. I don't know how I'm doing 2 Floodgate Field spells in a row. I guess Wind just kind of rolls that way. But this is probably one of the best floodgates in the entire game, because if only you control a spellcaster, your opponent cannot activate spell cards. And if you control no spellcasters, you cannot activate spell cards. But the thing is, Majespecters can't be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So it's actually really hard for your opponent to get all of the Majespecters off the field before they go into the battle phase. They would have to banish them without targeting, or return all of them to the hand, or return all of them to the deck. Um, and when you pendulum summon basically every card in your hand, as long as you keep one Majespecter on the field, your opponent can't activate any spell cards at all. That's crazy. So this will basically lock your opponent out of a lot of their cards. And the reason why Secret Village of the Spellcasters is such a good card is because a lot of people play a lot of hand traps. They'll play, Infinite Impermanence. They'll play Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. And by the way, Infinite Impermanence, because all of your cards can't be targeted. This card is dead in their hand, even when you're going first. You can, well, they can imperm the Draco Slayer, but otherwise, so your opponent will have basically a bunch of hand traps because they're going second, and they always have a bunch of hand traps. And then those cards are dead cards, right? If they don't use them against you during your first turn, they are cards that they've lost, or even if they use them, that they're starting with less cards in their hand. Then Secret Village of the Spellcasters kills all their spell cards. So that takes the number of cards that could potentially be in their hand from maybe 3 to potentially 2 or 1. And the reason why people run so many hand traps is because there's so much search. There's so many consistent low card combos which people prioritize, that they can get away with a hand that only has 3 real cards in it. But when Secret Village of the Spellcaster shuts down all your spell cards, that limits a lot of decks' ability to start the turn. I mean, they don't get to use Reinforcement of the Army, they don't get to use Fusion Destiny, they don't get to use Branded Fusion, they don't get to use so many of these cards that are spell cards that search through the deck. So a searchable Secret Village of the Spellcasters that is easy to protect because all of your monsters can't be destroyed is extremely good. And then you also have the Xyz monster, Majespecter Draco, um, which, if you can Pendulum Summon level 4, you can Pendulum Summon this card from your extra deck. If a monster is tributed while this card is on the field, you can detach 1 material from this card to special summon 1 level 6 or lower Wind spellcaster from the deck. Now, I told you that all of the Majespecter monsters are between level 3 and level 4. So why is this level 6 or lower? Well, there's one other Majespecter monster, which is Majespecter Unicorn Kirin. This level 6 monster has an insane effect of, during either player's turn, you can target 1 Pendulum monster in your monster zone and 1 monster your opponent controls and return them to the hand. Hard once per turn. And this card is currently forbidden in both the TCG and the OCG. But they printed this card and they directly referenced the ability to summon Kirin, so I'm coping that this card is going to limit 1. That's why I have 1 copy of it in the deck. This deck is currently illegal because that card is banned, but they wouldn't print this card if they weren't to take it off the ban list. It's time. Kirin should definitely come back to the game. It's not broken in Majespecters, it's broken in every other Pendulum deck, but Pendulums at this point are not that scary, so they should just go ahead and give this card back to us, and we should be able to just play Draco the way that we want to. Draco also has another effect where if this card is destroyed, or tributed, you can place it in the Pendulum Zone. So there are a lot of Majespecter cards that tribute. And its Pendulum effect is, if you have a Majespecter or Draco card in your other Pendulum Zone, you can add 1 Majespecter card from your deck to your hand, then you can destroy 1 card in your Pendulum Zone. So you get to search, and then you destroy Draco, and put it in your extra monster zone so that you can then Pendulum Summon it, and then you can use its effect again to continuously put it in the Pendulum Zone and use its search effect next turn, and it's kind of like a cycle. That's kind of what Majespecters do. They cycle effects and do cool things like that, get advantage. The rest of the deck is nothing special. We have Access Code, we have Master of Magicians because they're all spellcasters. We have Appaloosa, IP, Underworld Goddess, Voral Sword, Beyond the Pendulum, Great Fly, Baron, and Clearwing Fast Dragon. The reason why we have Baron is because Ash is a tuner. Same thing with Clearwing Fast Dragon, just Ash is a tuner, and you have level 3s and level 4s, so sometimes you'll be able to pull out a Baron or a Clearwing Fast Dragon and get in the gate. That's the deck. It's a lot of fun. Majespecters are a fun deck overall, and this one card combo is insane. You have plenty of ways to get it. You have plenty of ways to draw it, and Yada, Majespecter, Crow, Yada. When it's summoned, you can add a Majespecter spell card from your deck to your hand. So you summon Yada, you get Wind, Tribute Yada, get Babunku. So essentially, you have 9 cards in your deck with Yada, Babunku, and Wind that could all get you into this one card combo. So very consistent, very powerful. It's a lot of fun, and it's all Wind. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode of Wild Card Wednesdays. This is Serafi. I was thrilled to have you all with me.